right. I think it's time. Let's do it. All right. I'm gonna. Should I? Should I?
Yeah, do it.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Showtime, please.
What do you want?
I thought it was Showtime first. I thought we were doing Showtime first.
All
And
right,
Playtime
Showtime
later.
first. Great, sounds great.
All right,
As I
let's
said,
go.
there's an order to everything. Let's go with that. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to podcast number 5. My name is Ramon Lewis.
And I'm Yugen Cosmic.
Welcome, welcome. It's good to be back on the mic.
Yes, it is. Glad to be here.
Yeah, me too.
How have you been, Ramon?
I've been great. Thank you for asking.
You look great.
Merci. I got up early to get prepared for this podcast today.
I've been waiting for you all day. I mean, it's like, 6:45 in the evening here, and it's 8:45 in the morning there.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
I've been
wild.
up and ready.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we jump in?
Yeah, let's do it, baby.
All right. So last week, our podcast number 4 was about, talking about the themes around building trust, how trust takes time. We also touched on being vulnerable in a relationship, what that looks like.
Yeah.
The importance of open communication to people, and some strategies to utilize when feeling triggered.
Yeah, in other words,
So
the easy
let's
stuff.
get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so wait, so
sounds
where are we
pretty
picking
complex.
up? Yeah, so where are we picking up today?
But we're going to simplify it down.
All right, let's break it down. Where are we gonna pick up on today?
All right, well, let's start talking on the theme of authentic expression.
Authentic expression. All right.
Yeah, what does that look like?
Like it looks like me like trying to say something with a straight face. That's what it looks
I'm trying to be authentic.
like. Yes.
It's a bit serious.
So what is authentic expression to you?
Well, it's about, and I know you don't like the term because we touched on that the last podcast, but speak your truth.
Oh.
Yeah. But look, I think when I say that, it's speaking your truth for me is very valuable, and it validates your experience. So it should be treated as such.
Okay.
So being authentic to me is also to be vulnerable. So to show the real you without knowing the outcome. So just showing up, speaking what is true to you, regardless of the reaction that you're going to get or the response. Because you can't please everyone.
Okay. I mean, I get that. I mean, my fear, like my frustration with that terminology is that, like I said before, like, there are absolute truths, and, some people will try to pass an opinion off as truth because they want to believe it's true. So it creates a fissure in like relationships because, it's not, based on authentic truths, but personal beliefs, which is kind of a different situation. But I mean, that being said, we could even have a whole podcast on that. But I do agree that expressing yourself is important. Your identity, it comes from like your interpretation of your existence and relationship to the world, and the things that are in it. So, and that in particular is unique. And if that, in that case, we're all unique, and we should all be appreciated.
Yes.
So I'm kind of agreeing with you, and then I'm not somewhere. Like,
it's okay. This is good. This is why we do the chit chat. You don't always have to agree with me.
Really? You sure?
Can
I still sleep in the same bed?
Not all the time. Sure. Gotta get you first.
I do have to get there.
We've been sleeping separately the whole time.
And this is why. They won't let me back into the country unless I agree with you. So,
So
Yeah.
I'm going to quote Brené Brown because she's my little guru. And she talks on, the topics of vulnerability, shame, guilt, authenticity. And she has a quote around that. She says, authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, and the choice to let our true selves be seen. So when I say speak your truth, it's showing your true self. That's what I mean. It's not showing what I believe. It's not expressing, well, it is part and parcel of expressing what you believe, because that's part and parcel of who you are.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and
well.
if we look at it like,
I'm listening. If we look at it like what?
Go for it. Well, if I look at this, from a yogic philosophy standpoint, expression. So from the throat, it's called Vishuddha chakra. It's the throat chakra. If you want to clear that energy center,
sounds like a dish.
Vishuddha.
Would you like tasty, some prosciutto? Would you like some Parmesan on your prosciutto? Yeah, sure. Just a little bit. Some pepper.
I think it's vegetarian, so we're not going to go cheese.
Oh yeah, we're about to start this. Okay, we're about to go back on this whole vegan thing. So this is like the last day of meat
I know.
consumption. Oh, man.
Yeah, so meat it up.
But yeah, Vishuddha, you're saying?
Vishuddha chakra. So that is about finding the balance between expressing yourself eloquently, authentically, and also consciously listening. Okay. Yeah, so not talking too much or talking over someone, being aware the fact that how much you're actually expressing as opposed to how much you're in turn listening.
That is a very difficult thing to master, even for me, like, because it's, there was this movie Fight Club. I don't know if you've seen, there was this scene where this dude's talking to this girl, and they were trying to understand why they like going to these meetings with like people that are having issues, and they said like the reason why they like going is because people actually listen instead of waiting for their turn to talk. And it's interesting because like that's something that I've struggled with, where it's like I'll be having conversations with some people. It doesn't happen all the time, obviously, but it's like sometimes I find myself not really listening. I'm just waiting for the chance to say something. And I'm missing on the opportunity of hearing what the other person's really saying and responding to that instead of just kind of following off where I last left off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the fine little dance that we do, because we have dot points. We have themes we want to discuss. But then, of course, naturally in conversation, things pop up like this story that I didn't plan for. So I'm trying to listen to you and then also notice what I want to say in return to, looking away from my notes for a moment and actually listening to you.
Yeah, and we discussed that too. It's like, sometimes like we're trying to, because we want to keep this thing flowing in a very orderly fashion, so we have these little dot points that we kind of like follow. But at the same time, like we also have to try and listen to each other and respond, in real time to what's happening. So things flow naturally. And now this podcast is going to be like 30 minutes over.
Because this is it. I always think, do we have enough content?
Yeah.
And then we start talking.
It's like 30-minute mark. We're like, oh, no, we got to cut. Let's go. But yeah, move, sorry.
It too.
No, but just like.
Do you want me to wrap it up?
No, not wrap it up. I wanted to like, you see, and this is the problem. Like, now we're supposed to transition out of authentic expression and move into something else. And I was going to say that, but then like I totally like, because we're not on script all the time. Ramon, save me.
Okay, so I'm going to save you. So I'm going to wrap this theme up, right? And I'm going to run, come save you.
Okay.
It's a Roots Maneuver song, by the way. Uh, so, you're welcome. So let's wrap this one up. So we need to find the balance between expressing our needs, speaking up and speaking out, but not too much,
Mm-hmm.
because we need to also find on the other side of speaking is the active and conscious listening,
That's true.
and that takes awareness.
Beautiful. And that's something that I've been working on for a long time, and I'm still working on. Um, and it's weird. Like sometimes I find myself listening to somebody, and I'm forgetting what they're saying as they're saying it, and it's the weirdest thing. No, I kid. Okay,
Really?
it sounds terrible. It sounds terrible, and I think it is terrible. It's like I'm listening, and then it's like I'm like, wait, what did they say 2 seconds ago? Like I'm like losing the words as they're flowing through. It's like my brain is not registering certain things because I'm thinking about my response. You know.
Is it because you're not engaged? Or is it
Um.
because you're thinking more about what you want to say in return to what they're
Yeah, I think it's
speaking
an
about?
emotional thing because like I want to respond to something that they've said, and I'm stuck on that. So everything else that they're saying,
Mm.
I'm not really like registering because I'm like, no, 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 no. You just said the color blue sucks. That's what I'm gonna respond to. You could be talking about purple right now. It doesn't matter. As soon as you're done, I'm gonna start talking about blue again because that's the last thing I remember, and I'm reacting to that.
I know
So
exactly that
yeah.
feeling. I do it too. Yeah. And then sometimes what I might do, even though I've just wrapped this whole thing up and now we're going
Just now we're going back. Now let's get it out.
on.
Wait, wait,
Point.
wait, wait. Start back again. I missed that little bit.
Because you want to talk because you want to talk to a particular point in the
Mm-hmm.
convers in the in yeah. And you're holding on to that and you're thinking about the response to that particular point. You might not even let them. I do is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I interrupt.
Yeah,
And that's good.
I know. We're all guilty of that. Even come on, everybody who's listening right now, we're all guilty of that. But you know what? Let's since you already wrapped this point, let's move on to the next one. What we doing next here?
All right, let's talk about having shared interests as willingness to discover more about yourself, your partner, your relationship, and the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
So, curiosity is the fuel for discovery and learning. I think it's really necessary to keep curiosity alive, to be open to new experiences. Um, and as soon as we close off to the possibility of learning more about ourselves, we limit the capacity to learn about others.
Mm-hmm.
So, be curious,
That's.
but don't let it kill you.
Mm-hmm. Um, it's it's funny, right? Um, Thinking about like how we meet each other, how people meet each other.
Mm.
We when we meet when two people meet, there is that mutual curiosity about the other person. Like is this person interesting? Is this
Mm.
person fun? Is this person have ambition? Da da da. All these wonderful things, and I find and the recipe almost always goes the same. Like it starts with this birth of curiosity, and then at a point could be immediately after some goals achieved. I don't know, maybe you have sex or something else happens. Then all of a sudden there is an imbalance. Like one person's not interested in the other, or both people are comfortable and not curious to explore the relationship to any depth. And I will compare this to kind of like a politician campaigning. They're out
Mm.
there making you all these wonderful promises. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And as soon as they get elected, mm, what happens then? Yeah, you said you were going to build new roads, you said you're going to fund the school. It's like, yeah, all these things go out the window.
Yeah.
And it's just people. Like I know it's we get excited for a challenge, we get excited to discover something, and once we find it, we don't sometimes we figure, okay, well, we're satisfied with what we have, so we don't want to move any further. But there's so much
Mm.
more to be discovered. And you know what? Just because someone doesn't
Mm.
say it, we want to be understood. We want people to dig a little deeper, I feel, because we want to be accepted fully and completely. And the only way that
Mm.
really works is if we, you know, we move forward with that curiosity, and someone's willing to say, hey, why is it you feel X, Y, and Z? You know,
Mm. So good.
there's a lot of people that are shut off to the world because they don't feel that they're that interesting, or don't really care to make an effort to put themselves out there. And all it takes is one person to be like, hey, tell me your story. And all of a sudden
Yeah,
you just opened up, to the next chapter in the book that's it's an interesting story.
I know. I love that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's 2 points there I'm going to draw out of what you've just said. And one of them is, it reminds me of, it's a quote and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember it word for word, but it's, you can only meet someone as deep as you've met yourself.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So if you just live a very superficial kind of, I don't really want to talk about my life and my fears and my doubts and my joys, then you're not really going to want to explore that in another.
Yeah. Wow.
And for the most part, we're creatures of habit. We fall into this dynamic in a relationship, and so then kills the curiosity
Mm-hmm.
that we would initially have for one another when we started,
Yeah.
courting each other
That
or swooning.
and I'm gonna come back to when we first met. And I didn't think too much of the fact that the person sitting on my left or the person sitting on my right, I didn't know anything about these people until I engaged them. Martin, great guy, still talk to him to this very day, and Ramon, great girl, still talk to her to this very day. And
Took
man,
more
oh
than a little bit
man,
of talking.
I'm a lot more than a little bit talking. Wow, all it took was just a hey, how are you? And next thing you know, we were just diving into each other. I mean, well, I,
Intellectually.
intellectually.
And then we discover there's a whole universe inside of ourselves to discover, to explore, to be curious about.
Okay, I'm gonna leave this one alone. But yeah, altruism.
Moving on to the next theme. Boom. Let's go. Alrighty. So, acting selflessly. How many people do it? Do you do it on a daily? What does that look
No.
like? I think it's emotionally rewarding to care for another. I do think that you do. You just don't perhaps, or you're not perhaps consciously aware of it. You know, yeah.
I don't like put myself out there like that. It makes me feel vulnerable, like and oh yeah, we did talk about vulnerability, didn't we?
You know what I gotta say? You gotta give yourself the benefit of the doubt because you are vulnerable. Even just talking about your life experiences and, you know, things that not a lot of people would normally express publicly. This is vulnerability right here. When
Hmm.
you are aware of it, and I'm making you conscious.
You've made me consciously aware of it. Now I don't want to do it anymore.
All right, well, I'll keep talking about what I'm talking about. So, we like to help others. Now, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly, one of the things that I asked you valued was friendship. And why is that? Because you want to help your friends.
Yeah.
That's one of your values.
I think that's important.
So that's
Yeah.
an altruistic trait.
Mm-hmm.
Doing something out of love and out of the desire to help someone without actually expecting anything back.
Yeah.
Um, we like to help others, sometimes to the detriment of our own lives. I'm talking about myself here.
Mm-hmm.
And
You are.
sometimes I use that as a distraction, from work. My work is sometimes to help people with their problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I think that comes back to balance. How much are you helping someone out of an altruistic from an altruistic standpoint?
Yeah.
And how much are you doing that because maybe there is a part of you that wants to help yourself, but doesn't have the resources or tools to do it, and so then naturally we gravitate to helping other people.
It's true. It's easier. I mean, and yeah, we talked about this. Like, it's easier for me to help somebody else with their stuff than to do with my own stuff. So I
Yeah.
guess, like, to that extent, yeah, I am altruistic because it takes the shine away from my own things to deal with. And it's let's put it this way. All right, what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander. And
Yeah.
while I agree with you, and I personally do subscribe to this whole altruism thing, I guess unintentionally, but fundamentally, I have to acknowledge, it's not a universal truth. Where you have some people who fall into the category of quid pro quo, like what have you done for me lately? Um, and I think I was telling you a story the other day. Actually, this was yesterday about my sister. You know, and like she was like saying how you love our other sister more than you love me. And my response to her was, no, the thing is, you only relate to people in the sense of what have they done for you. And if I
Yeah.
haven't given you anything, then all of a
Mm.
sudden I don't care about you. And the reason why you're saying that I love the other sisters because you think I gave her something and I didn't
Mm.
give you something.
Mm.
So that's like your perception of like a relationship.
Yeah.
So it would be great, and I think it's wonderful to do things selflessly, um, because it shows a growth, and it shows a growth in your personality and your ability to contribute without having to take, because that's one of the
Mm.
downsides of humanity. We, as a society, we tend to take more than we give.
Mm.
And altruism is definitely, and it's definitely a brighter shine point on our ability to evolve, in that it shows that we can give back without having to destroy or compromise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I go fun
Uh,
tangent there?
yeah, you did, but you always do another one. Because I really wanted to cut in midway and go, "What have you done for me lately?" Ooh, yeah. Because I like to make everything into a song.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, it's been sung about. We do it because it's it's something that we don't for the most part, not consciously aware of.
Yeah.
I'll give, but there's a part of me that kind of wants it back in return.
Well, yeah, yeah. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I do feel like I deserve something back for what I do. I mean, everything. I mean, even if you look at religion, religion's all about like getting something in return for doing something good. Like most
Yeah.
religions, anyways, it's like, hey,
Mm.
you get this if you do this. It's not. There's
Totally. And teaching kids.
yeah.
If you do this, if you eat your main meal and your
Mm,
greens, then you get dessert.
yeah.
And there's always a reward for
Mm-hmm.
good behavior.
Yes.
I
So
want to
what
be
do I get
rewarded for my
for
bad
behaving
behavior.
myself?
Oh, you know what you get.
Which
Bread and
brings
butter
us.
pudding.
I know. I'm so excited.
Between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m.
Yes, she made a very specific time. I can't get it all night.
But it's homemade, though. Like, that
Yes,
is.
it better taste amazing. Oh my god.
Oh, it will. Don't
And
worry.
can
I'll
I
be
have like
practicing.
certain? Can I have like some requests, like specific requests, like chocolate, or maybe banana? Okay, beautiful. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we know. It's
Mm.
cool.
Which brings us to our last bit.
Willingness to do things for your partner. No, willingness to learn and evolve. So,
Another way of saying doing things for your partner.
yeah, and not having to feel like it's an obligation to do it out of
Yes.
the kindness of your heart, and
Not
for it
because
not
you
to
lose a
feel like
bet.
a compromise. Yeah, exactly. Willingness to compromise, not sacrifice, because when it feels like a sacrifice, you feel like you're actually losing something rather than, finding the balance between, the desire to do something and that being returned to you.
Yeah.
So to learn about another, it's to be flexible, it's to be open to the changing nature of your relationship as you grow and evolve. And it sounds like an absolute, and I don't really write them. Never be with someone who isn't willing to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not talking about changing someone's personality. There's a reason why you fell for someone, or in the first place. But it's about the openness to trying new things and having adventure, continuing to grow with your partner or
That's true.
your friendship.
It's interesting. We actually talked about this before, and I was saying how, when people meet each other, sometimes as the relationship progresses, they forget why they met the person in the first place. And sometimes you'll notice that one person is unhappy with certain aspects of, you know, their partner's behavior, but they forget that that's one of the things that kind of drew them to that person, whether they were super conscious of it or not. You know, it's like if you meet somebody and you met at a club and this person likes going out, and after 6 months you're like, why do you keep going out? It's like, well, that's, you know, that was part of their nature, you know. We forget, like, you know, how these things, like, you know, seep into the rest of how these things were part of the initial interaction, and how, like, it actually does permeate the relationship. And we sometimes people try to change the habits of these of their partners, forgetting that, yeah, that's exactly how we met. That's one of the reasons why I was drawn to you in the first place, and blah blah blah, etc., etc.
Yeah. And then again, it always comes back to balance. So it's appreciating the qualities that that person possesses, celebrating them, acknowledging them, and then also guiding them and supporting them if they want to change something about themselves. Say, all right, you every Saturday night, cool. Let's, I don't know, take up knitting together.
And
oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that brings me to the next part. It's like, yeah, you know, you have these initial qualities that, you know, draw you to the person, but then, you know, we're talking about learning and evolving, and there is a trend, there is, you know, shift in people's personalities and even in their relationships. Like, you know, I know, Ramon, you like to go out a lot. You know, you're very, I mean, you're an outgoing person. You like to dance, and, you know, lately you've been more focused on, like, you know, getting all your other stuff going on, like, you know, your business and, you know, learning and all this other stuff. And that's a shift in how you've done things before and how you're doing things now, you know. And even for myself, like, I'm more set on, like, learning all this, you know. Well, I'm trying to get this project started, and also I'm learning this whole new career. So it's like, you know, moving, I don't even go out to dinner as much as I used to, and, you know, it's our nature is shifting, and we're also, like, doing this together too, because we're learning things together, and we're both supporting each other in that regard. You know, you help me with my stuff, I help you with your stuff, and, you know, we're doing this podcast together. So the whole nature of our relationship's changing, but we're constantly supporting each other throughout the whole process.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a beautiful experience. And I think that's the one thing that we tend to lose sight of is the changing nature of us as humans, and the changing nature of the world around us, and how we have to adapt and evolve. And our priorities change.
That's true. You know, we fall into this safe space, and it's easy to get lost in it. But we need to remember that, you know, when we meet people, we aren't drawn to them because they were, you know, uninspiring and lazy, unless that's your jam. You know,
I like to sit on the couch every night.
Yeah. You know, just reiterating, like, you know, they were interesting, and, you know, there was a curiosity about them, and, you know, we wanted to explore that. So, you know, stay active. Never give up on being interesting, because the next dude is blowing up your girl's DMs, just waiting to catch you sleeping, homie. You know who you are. Never catch me sleeping, bro. Shoot.
Don't say the name.
Like, what else are you guys doing on Facebook? Like, seriously?
Names.
What?
Names.
What? I'm not name dropping. Jeez. I'm leaving that one alone.
It's cool. You're safe with me.
Yeah, I know. Clearly, because I'm still in the picture.
We're going to adventure down that road with you.
Well, you want to wrap this up, baby?
Yes, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Hailing from New York City, I am using. My name.
I'm high on life.
My name is Yugen Cosmic.
I was just about to snort. And my name is Ramon Lewis from Melbourne City, coming out of lockdown one breadcrumb at a time.
Amen to that. You guys have a wonderful night, and on the other side, I guess, yeah, have a wonderful day. So we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.